Hey everybody! It is that time of the year again. 2017 is almost coming to a close, and that means of course that I am going to share my top 10 favorite games of this year. Now after the top 10 I will talk a little bit about how this year was for me, for my channel, my plans for 2018, etc, etc. So if you want to stick around for that, feel free to do so. But yeah, so now the games. So 2017 I thought was an excellent game year. A lot of games were released, very good first half in my opinion, and a lot of games I did not have a lot of trouble making this top 10, though I do have to say that compared to years like 2013 where you had games like The Last of Us, GTA 5 and Bioshock Infinite, this year, though there was an overall good quality, there were not those that like really reached out there in terms of games that I played. Now before we go to my top 10, I just want to say that I've only played on PC, meaning that games like Persona 5, Super Mario Odyssey, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and Horizon Zero Dawn I have not played, and had a very high chance to, if I played them, probably be in my top 10. Anyway, without further ado, let's take a look at my top 10 games of 2017. We start on number 10 with The Evil Within 2. This time, it was not Shinji Mikami who took the reins, but merely participated as an executive producer. I was one of the minority who really loved Evil Within 1 for its great diversity of gimmicks in each level. With Evil Within 2, the approach was different, with larger and wider hub areas, resembling quaint suburban environments we know and love from various horror movies. I was amazed with the optional content there was if you explored, including several cutscenes and story bits that you would otherwise skip out on, even missing some special encounters with certain creatures. I would argue that the second half is not as strong as the first, as it reverts back to many hallway segments, and the story and bad guys, excluding the artist Stefano, are also really bland. Nevertheless, did I enjoy exploring the town environment so much that it earned its place in my top 10 of this year. On 9 we find The Escapists 2. I was a big fan of the first Escapist and even considered doing a let's play of the game. But the truth is that there is a lot of grinding, waiting, and trial and error involved, and it would not have made for a very entertaining series. But the creators of Team 17 of course fixed this by adding the most requested feature: multiplayer. Me, Spiral, Raz, and Woozy already managed to escape from several prisons while we got into all kinds of trouble due to our shenanigans. The thrill I got when we finally decided to escape during the night through the vents, then accidentally triggered the alarm, but still managed to dig our way to freedom amidst the chaos, was a true highlight. Not every level is as strong, but with the added workshop support, hopefully our team of criminals will be able to show off our skills many more times to come. On 8 we find Cuphead. I was looking forward to this game ever since I heard it was a boss rush game. This meant that instead of running through levels, all stages would solely consist of boss encounters, introducing many styles of play. The initial critique that the developers got at conventions was that people did not like this, and so they added the run and gun levels, ironically the weakest part of the game in my opinion. Nevertheless, I enjoyed the hell out of this game, and yes, it was very hard, and in reality, I still have not beaten the game fully. Whether it was solo or with my girlfriend, time and time again I was amazed by the originality of the bosses and how brutally difficult they were. It was all about recognizing patterns, and therefore I agree that this game can wear the title of Dark Souls amongst 2D action games. The reason why this game is not higher on the list is because I believe the art style plays a really big role in the charm of playing it. If this was a pixelated style game, chances are more likely that I would have skipped this. But I am thankful that they decided not to do this, and with the charming 30s art style, this became an instant classic for many. On 7 we are killing Nazi scum in Wolfenstein 2 A New Colossus. I think the levels and stages in Wolfenstein A New Order are better than this version, as Wolfenstein A New Colossus has a lot of tight hallway and corridor sections that are quite bland. But what sets this game apart from its predecessor is its story and development of characters. Plot twists and surprise encounters are really well done, with some scenes gaining instant infamy amongst some. For all the violence and gore that the game had, I was pleasantly surprised with the nuance that the game brought as well. There's a certain section where they talk about the nuclear bomb that was dropped in New York. One of the characters said that only monsters could have done that. It would have been easy for the writers to respond with, not monsters, but Nazis. Instead, the response was, not monsters, but humans. implying that in reality, it was us who did indeed resort to the atomic bomb during World War II. The game is brutal, harsh, and straight to the point. Characters and story segments were memorable, and I'm curious to where Bethesda will bring this story next. On 6, we have Observer, and the biggest surprise for me personally. In many ways, this game is the closest thing we are going to get to a Blade Runner game until Cyberpunk comes out. Starring our very own Dutch actor Rutger Hauer, who also played an important role in the original Blade Runner movie. Though the game is classified as a horror game, in reality, it is so much more. It is a proper detective game, where you find a murder scene that you then need to investigate. You make your way through this locked-down apartment buildings with most of the tenants still in their homes for you to interview. You meet all kinds of different personalities, and the broken down environment not just looks like a Blade Runner scene, but also reminds one of old noir detectives. The horror aspect comes in once you connect to the victim's mind and see their fears and anger represented in creepy imagery. These creators previously made Layers of Fear, and though I had a lot more scares in that game, Observer gripped me so much more with its story, characters, environment, and of course, Hauer as the main character. I love horror games, and I love detective games, and this particular game showed that a marriage between the two could result in something beautiful. And then we arrive at my top 5 best games of 2017, and at number 5, we find Call of Duty World War II. Who would have thought that the campaign this game offers actually would be pretty good? Though I do think the ending was a bit cheesy, and the storytelling suffered a bit from forced political correctness that seems like a requirement in mainstream entertainment nowadays. Overall, the campaign was very entertaining, and more importantly, really gave me the feeling of being part of a bigger assault. For years, I've been saying that Call of Duty had lost its sense of epic scale in the iterations that were released over the last few years. The first 2 Call of Duties were mostly about these big, epic cinematic battles where often you had 15 to 20 allies on your side. Recently, it was more likely you had 2, 3, or 4 guys around you. But here, we return to the giant scale battles where the explosions and screaming deafen the shots fired at you in the distance. Sometimes the game can become a bit too silly with its train crashing sequence, but then the Hitman-esque infiltration mission makes up for this moments later. Having the quieter moments in between the shootouts where you get to see your company during downtime is a nice little touch too. With the increased sales numbers of this Call of Duty, I hope that in the future we will get more of the same epicness presented in this game. On place 4 we have Nioh, which by some is dubbed the samurai version of Dark Souls. Though it is true that Nioh does share some similarities with Dark Souls in the form of level design, addition of the stamina bar, and the mechanic of having one chance to retrieve your lost currency to level up, in many other ways, it is very different. The looting system, for example, more resembles something like Diablo, and instead of one open world, all missions are reduced to small levels with a proper beginning and end goal. The game made by Team Ninja was also created in good faith, as Dark Souls developer From Software made a Ninja Gaiden-esque game many years ago, so now the events became full circle. I have to say that From Software is still the king when it comes to these type of games, but Team Ninja can be damn proud of what they accomplished with this title. The storyline is forgettable, but the bosses are certainly far from it, tapping in the ancient lore of Japanese mythology and history. You encounter several characters who really existed, ranging from shogun to famous warriors. Bosses vary greatly from spiders and giant centipedes to water monsters or human encounters that resemble an old-fashioned samurai duel. Though I was not addicted to this game as I was with Dark Souls 1, 2, or 3, it still deserves its praise for creating such a great game. And then we are now at the top 3, and the third place goes to the small indie game Little Nightmares. This game was recommended to me, and when I saw the art style, and the notion that it was a similar game like Inside, which stood at my number 2 of best games last year, I knew I had to play this. Inside, in my opinion, is still superior, but both are also a bit different in pacing and tone. Little Nightmares creates a beautiful and creepy environment where you just want to know what the story and lore is. Every section has different gimmicks and bosses to deal with in clever ways via puzzles. What this game does have over Inside is a more clear story, and during the story, this game takes a disturbing turn which eventually leads to an insane ending. The game is short, but therefore sweet, with no filler content involved. The scale keeps on expanding and expanding, and Little Nightmares is an adventure I can easily recommend to anyone. At number 2, we have Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. This game is right up my alley. It is a very cinematic, story-focused experience. As Senua, you journey through the different layers of hell trying to save your slain loved one. The twist is that Senua herself suffers from psychosis, meaning you constantly hear voices reaching out to you. It is not just meant for a disturbing atmosphere, but also has a function, as the voices can warn you when an enemy approaches from behind. Rather than action, the game is more focused on puzzle solving, but luckily, the puzzles are a lot of fun. You need to use your wits to find patterns in the environment, or use portal-esque magic to see things different so you can pass through. Senua swings, dodges, and leaps as if she were a sword dancer, making for some of the most cinematic fights I have ever seen in games. You can even see the cuts on the enemies' bodies as you chop them to bits. The descent down to hell is another subject I love, as I read the original play created by Dante on the layers of hell for school this year. Though this game concerns Norse mythology, similarities can easily be made, as here too you have different layers devoted to a certain sin, and even a river full of corpses resembling the river Styx. The adult subject matter of mental illness and relatively short span of 5 to 6 hours makes this a game I completed in just a few sittings. Not only that, the humble pricing of $30 on release made it even better. Don't miss out on this epic tale of a tormented young heroine. And finally, a number 1, and therefore my favorite game of 2017, is Resident Evil 7. It was released all the way back in January, and for me personally, kept the throne all to itself all year long. I'm a huge horror fan, and also a fan of Resident Evil 1, 4, and 5. Though 4 and 5 were good, they were not scary, and I'm glad they made the decision to take it back 2 notches, because the end result is pure gold. The pacing is perfect, where in the beginning, you are all by yourself trying to look for your partner. Then, when things go downhill, they go downhill fast, with twists and turns you did not see coming. When you meet the Baker family, the members will be easily stuck in your memories. What really surprised me was how far back they went to make it feel like an old Resident Evil game in terms of layout, but also puzzles. Exploring really paid off, and it has been such a long time since ammo was so scarce, which is such an important factor to make a game scary, as it gives you the dilemma of using your weapon now or save it for later, but risk getting trapped now. The game impressed me even more when I realized that each member of the Baker family represents a certain type of horror trope. Jack resembles the slasher horror like in Friday the 13th, Halloween, or Nightmare on Elm Street. The mother represents creature horror, with all sorts of nasty critters jumping at you from all angles. And then the son represents the recent torture hits like Saw, with its mutilating traps and setup games. The weakest part of the game was the level on the ship that came afterward, and in terms of common enemies, there were only 4 different types, which also were quite bland. But then the final twist is also one that makes sense once you retrace your steps throughout the game, and it wins you right back over. Well done, Capcom. I am excited by your next entry in the Resident Evil franchise. So that was my top 10 games of 2017, and I'm curious to what you guys' favorite game of the year was, so let me know in the comments down below. And yeah, now as a final word, let's talk a little bit about how this year was. On personal and YouTube level, it actually was a very, very big year. I graduated this year in film school, and well, I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment, because that's about my plans for 2018. So in terms of my YouTube channel, it has been the most successful year ever. And to give you, for example, a comparison, in 2015 and 2016, I gained about between like 15 and 16,000 subscribers in that year. In both years, they were very similar. This year, I had more than 26,000 subscribers in this one year, meaning that next year, 2018, will be the year that this channel will go over 100,000 subscribers. I mean, I'm almost at 75,000 subscribers. In the first week of January, we're going over to 75,000, so you might as well say that we're already at that point right now. Really been successful. December was the most successful December month I've had ever. I believe May this year was the most successful month I've ever had. November was great. You know, in terms, every year often has like peaks and also like low points. I remember I believe September was a pretty bad month in terms of like views or subscribers, and there were even some people saying like, oh, this channel is dead or blah blah blah. But that is not true at all. This channel is more alive than ever. As I said, November was great. December, best month December has ever been. Awesome new series like Hearts of Iron 4 Zombies, which is also a huge success, and I'm just so happy that this channel still stands for quality content, both in like Let's Play versions or cinematics, or cinematic and Let's Play hybrids. And again, I think that the Hearts of Iron series is very unique, and if you haven't watched it yet, please go check it out. I'll almost guarantee that you'll like it, because you've never seen anything like this on YouTube before. And you know, in 2018, I hope to definitely make more amazing stuff. In terms of Let's Plays, so Let's Plays are obviously the thing that are the least popular on the channel, but that purely depends on what game I play. So Call of Duty World War II, huge success. I believe that the first episode has almost 30,000 views. I believe that Star Wars Battlefront 2, the campaign, the first episode, has about 20,000 views. And you can see most Let's Play channels, they pretty much like you know, only count the first episode, because that's where most of the hits come from. Then you have a lot of people who say, well, maybe I won't watch this, or maybe I'll continue, and you have a steady drop off from that on. It's very normal. It's not just my channel, it's everywhere. But so that was a great success. Starship Troopers, huge success. I actually didn't check it before, but I remember it had, I think, over 80,000 views the first episode, so huge success. In the second episode, like 30,000, so that was a great Let's Play. So I'm happy that my YouTube channel is still a platform where I can have Let's Plays, because again, what people don't realize is how much time it takes to make those cinematics, and the Let's Plays, which are much easier to do, you know, you just play, you render, and you upload, they are a platform for me to you know, keep this channel financially stable. You know, I don't think I can keep this channel up with just cinematics, and for example also third-party cinematics. Like, people sometimes say like, you should just do Star Wars Factions. The answer is absolutely not. If there comes a day where it's like, Disney is not happy with their Star Wars, and like I have to stop the series, then what? You know, many people don't realize this. Many people just want Star Wars, but it's I ignore those. And I'm very happy that other series besides Star Wars Factions are very popular. Some, of course, still involve some Star Wars things, like Star Wars vs. Earth, Modern Warfare, but I think it's very, very cool that we have that series where we have some community involvement, where you guys let me know the names, and we get that for it. It's been a while since I uploaded that, but I've been working on a lot of other shows. I'm afraid I won't be able to do another episode this year, but definitely in 2018 we will have another episode of that. But yeah, no, in terms of Let's Play, so I'm happy that it's still platformed here. Also, please support this channel by watching some of my Let's Plays. But again, I have to be really careful and pick the Let's Plays that are really catered to my audience. And I have the feeling that I kind of know what they like. For example, World in Conflict, which is a big, like a recent title that I discovered, is a huge success as well. I think the first episode has like 11 or 12,000 views. And people are also saying like, whoa, I've never heard about this game, this is really cool. Like, they're getting it because they see the Let's Play of mine, which I think is very cool. But for example, after the Starship Troopers Let's Play, I thought because military games, like really kind of realistic military games, military portrayals are popular on my channel. And so I thought that like Vietnam War games would be popular on my channel, and that was not the case at all. I did the series Viet Cong, which the first episode did okay, but then it had a really steady drop off. And then I also did Man of Valor, which I haven't completed yet in terms of uploading, but that just wasn't a big success. So sometimes it's still, you know, a little bit of guessing, a little bit of trial and error. But I'm definitely excited to have some really cool Let's Plays coming in 2018 as well. Sometimes, of course, also I'll greenlight a Let's Play even though I know it won't be a success. For example, the game I'm looking forward to the most next year is a game called A Way Out. It's a prison escape game. And though I know there will be some fans who will like that series, I don't think it will be like a mainstream success on this channel, purely because it doesn't really cater to most. But still, in that case, I'm just gonna say like, it's my channel. I want to upload what I want to upload. I want to play what I want to play. That's coming up there, and I don't even care if it's not, you know, if it doesn't get a lot of views. The same with the E3 content that I do each year. It doesn't get a lot of views, but I like making that content, so that is just what I do, and that's what I'll continue to do. So yeah, I'm not too sure yet what kind of Let's Plays I'm gonna do in 2018. Again, in January, not a whole lot will come out. At the end, it will be Monster Hunter. I don't know if that's gonna be successful or not. That might be better for streaming. But yeah, so we'll see about that. Now, in terms of what 2018 will bring us, I am just going to say this. So, I graduated film school, and in January I will be starting an internship, a 6-month internship here in ABC in Tokyo. And I have no idea how intense it's going to be. I know that in the 3rd month I am going to be directing my own, directing and producing my own short film, which I'm very excited about. I also directed an, it's now in post-production, short film as well, which hopefully I can share with you when it's done in a few months. But basically, the internship will be my main focus in January. And again, because I don't know what is expected of me, what, you know, how intense it's gonna be. They did say though that like in the first few weeks it's gonna be a little bit boring. Like I probably have to like carry stuff, clean up stuff. Probably won't have a whole lot of like editing to do, but I did talk to a previous intern who worked there, and he said that he did get some like work there as an editing assistant. So, because of that, I can tell you this, that in January there will not be a Star Wars Factions episode. Simply, I need to focus on the internship. I need to find my groove, know what the times are. Also, in January, my parents are coming here 2 weeks. So, they're coming in the first week of January. And so I want to have some family time with them, and then they're actually still here for like 5 days when my internship starts, but the vacation was already planned way before I knew about the exact dates of the internship. But because of that, again, expect a lot more like Let's Play content just in January. I will still do things like Star Wars vs. Earth, because that is a hybrid that's not that difficult to make. The Hearts of Iron series I will make, because though that is also a lot of work, not a lot as Star Wars Factions. Again, Star Wars Factions takes so long to make. I mean, the other one, I believe episode 29, had over 200 shots. It had 4,000 words of script. You know, people don't realize that it's not simply like all those Men of War Let's Players out there who just, they make a scenario or something, they play it, and then that's it. I have to position the units, make a set. So I use the map and then make the set, choose the angles, zoom in. If an action needs to be performed, I need to be sure that the action is performed within the frame and also looks good. And if it's like combat, often I have to do the battles 4, 5, sometimes 6 times, focusing on one side, focusing on another, focusing on a particular unit. If something goes wrong, like I had in episode 30, I had ATSTs walking and then they just tripped over and they blew up. Boom, had to do it over again. I kind of came to the conclusion that whenever people, because it has kind of like toned down, I think people understand that it takes some time, but you still get those people saying like, when's the next Star Wars Factions? This year I have to say that I felt some pressure sometimes to like say, oh, I'm gonna upload the next episode this date or this date, and I simply can't promise that because it takes so much time, and then something happens where it's like, oh, this map doesn't load, or this is an error, or I have to do this over again. So you know, I'm not gonna say a date, and if someone, you know, complains or says like, I'm just subscribed to your channel for Star Wars Factions, my answer is just gonna be, well, if that's the case and you're that impatient, you can just fuck off. That's it. That's my 2018. I don't know how to say it in English, but you know that thing where you're gonna do better. It's like, ignore those people who say like, when is Star Wars Factions. It doesn't mean that I'm abandoning it. Again, it is, you know, my most successful series. I won't abandon that. It will return in February, but you know, it takes a lot of time. You can even look, also with the longer episodes, you can look at some other cinematics of Men of War that are out there on YouTube, and most of them are like 5 minutes, and those people who created those will tell you how long it took to make that, and my videos are like, I don't know, 10, 15, some are even over 20 minutes, so, you know, there's that. So yeah, so a bit of a dark tone to end it on, but I'm really happy. I'm really excited for 2018. Again, I'm really excited about the internship. You know, I'm going my way to work into film, and you know, maybe I'll learn some stuff that I can actually use for my YouTube channel. You know, we're gonna be bigger, better, and like I said, 100,000, baby. That is gonna be next year, 2018. 100,000 subscribers. Ah, I'm very excited. Trying to think if there's like some final thoughts. I want to thank all of you for the support throughout this year. I want to thank you if you joined the streams, if you commented, if you subscribed, if you shared. Thank you so much. And I hope all of you will have a very good New Year's Eve. Here in Japan, it's always a little bit boring. There's no fireworks. You usually go to a temple and stuff, but we'll have it cozy. We'll have the lady over, and we'll drink some champagne, and maybe we'll go to a temple and stuff. But I don't know yet. I'm gonna take it easy, just like with Christmas. I will take a little bit of a break. I will probably return January 3rd or 4th, just kind of so that I can. You know, I can finally take a break. The last few days have been crazy after Christmas, where I made like the Battlefront review, and I've been working on another Hearts of Iron and the Star Wars Factions, and then this top 10. So I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna relax a little bit. But also in those days, I'll be working a little bit on the next Hearts of Iron. Tomorrow, I'm actually going to go to a public hot bath. I'm really excited about that. Finally, relax a little bit. Just not worry about anything and leave things as be. Anyway, guys. Thanks so much for listening, and I will see you guys next year.